Kabbalah is a mystical tradition within Judaism that seeks to understand the nature of God, the universe, and the human soul. It is not a separate religion, but a way of perceiving and experiencing reality that developed from within Jewish texts, rituals, and spiritual practice. In this video, we'll explore what Kabbalah is, where it came from, its core ideas, and how it has been interpreted and sometimes misunderstood in modern times. Kabbalah literally means receiving, or that which is received. Traditionally, it referred to a body of esoteric teachings that were transmitted from teacher to student, often privately, and only after the student had demonstrated maturity, knowledge of Jewish law, and moral stability. Kabbalah was never meant to be casual or purely intellectual. It was a path of inner transformation, changing how a person saw themselves, others, and God. Historically, the roots of Kabbalistic thinking stretch back to the Bible and early Jewish mysticism, but Kabbalah as a more organized system really begins to appear in the Middle Ages. One important early source is a small, enigmatic text called Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, which discusses how God created the world using Hebrew letters and numbers. Over time, more mystical writings emerged, culminating in the appearance of Kabbalah's most famous work, the Zohar. The Zohar, which means Book of Splendor, appeared in Spain in the late 13th century and was written in a form of Aramaic. It presents itself as the mystical teachings of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, a sage from the 2nd century, though modern scholars see it as the work of a medieval author or group of authors, most likely Moses de Leon and his circle. The Zohar is not a systematic textbook. It's a sprawling symbolic commentary on the Torah, filled with stories, visions, and interpretations that reveal hidden spiritual dimensions behind the biblical text. At the heart of Kabbalah is the idea that God, the ultimate reality, is both infinitely beyond human understanding and yet intimately present within everything that exists. Kabbalists often distinguish between two aspects of the divine. The first is Ein Sof, literally without end, which points to God's infinite, unknowable essence. Ein Sof is beyond any image, concept, or limitation. The second aspect is the way this infinite reality reveals and expresses itself in creation. This expression is described through the language of the Sephirot. The Sephirot are 10 emanations or attributes of the divine, often portrayed as a sort of tree of life. They are not separate gods or beings, but different facets of how the one God is manifest in the world. These 10 Sephirot are typically named Keter, Chokmah, Bina, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. Keter, meaning crown, represents the highest, most subtle will or intention of the divine, the very beginning of emanation from Ein Sof. Choshmah, wisdom, is the spark of insight or pure creative inspiration. Bina, understanding, is the process of developing and structuring that initial insight into form and comprehension. Together, Choshmah and Bina are often seen as a dynamic of masculine and feminine energies, or active and receptive principles, within the divine mind. The next group of Sephirot relates more directly to emotion and the moral qualities that shape the world. Chesed, loving kindness, symbolizes expansion, generosity, overflow. Gevurah, strength or judgment, symbolizes boundaries, discipline, restriction. Tiferet, beauty, harmonizes these opposing forces, creating balance between unlimited giving and necessary limitation. When a person acts with compassion, but also with discernment and responsibility, they are aligning themselves with this Sephirotic balance. Below these come Netzach and Hod, often understood as endurance and humility, victory and splendor. They relate to how divine energy continues to flow into history, human effort, and communication. Yesod, foundation, channels and integrates the energy of the upper Sephirot, serving as a kind of bridge to the material world. Finally, Malchut, kingdom, represents the divine presence as it is actually experienced in creation. God as present in the world, in nature, in history, and in the human community. Kabbalists believe that everything in existence is sustained by the flow of divine energy through this structure, and that human thought, speech, and action can affect how that energy flows. When people live ethically, pray with intention, and perform mitzvot, commandments, with awareness, they repair or align the Sephirot, harmonizing the higher worlds and bringing blessing into this world. This idea is known as tikkun, repair. One of the fundamental teachings of Kabbalah is that creation itself is a kind of mystery involving divine self-contraction and shattering. A famous Kabbalist named Isaac Luria, who lived in the 16th century in Safed, developed a powerful mythic system to explain this. According to Lurianic Kabbalah, before the world existed, only the infinite light of Ein Sof filled all reality. For anything else to exist, that infinite presence had to contract or conceal itself. This process is called tzimtzum. Through tzimtzum, God makes an empty space in which the universe can emerge, a space in which other beings can experience themselves as separate and free. Into this space, divine light is then poured into vessels, but the vessels are too fragile to contain the intensity of the light. They shatter, and the sparks of divine light scatter throughout creation, becoming embedded in all things: physical objects, living beings, and human souls. Alongside these sparks are husks, or shells, called kelipot, that conceal and imprison the light. The human task, in this vision, is to liberate the sparks by acting with holiness, mindfulness, justice, and love. Every good deed, every blessing recited with intention, every act of compassion and self-transcendence lifts a spark and contributes to the cosmic repair, the tikkun olam, the repair of the world. This myth isn't meant to be taken as a literal history of the universe. It's a symbolic way of expressing deep truths about tension, brokenness, and healing. We experience ourselves as separate, sometimes alienated from God, from others, and even from our own deepest self. Kabbalah suggests that, beneath this appearance of fragmentation, there is hidden light waiting to be revealed, and that our choices truly matter in this revelation. Another important theme in Kabbalah is the idea that the Torah itself has layers upon layers of meaning. The surface narrative, the plain sense of the text, is only the beginning. Beneath it are allegorical, moral, and mystical levels. Kabbalists developed methods of interpretation that involved numerical values of Hebrew letters known as gematria, as well as letter rearrangements and symbolic readings. For example, they might look at the numerical value of a word and connect it to another word with the same value, seeing a hidden relationship between them. They believe that the Torah is not only a story of the past, but a living, divine blueprint of reality and of the soul. In Kabbalah, God's presence in the world is often described through the concept of the Shekinah, the indwelling divine presence. The Shekinah is sometimes portrayed in feminine imagery as a bride or queen, exiled and yearning to be reunited with her divine partner. This language expresses the sense that the world is not yet in its full, healed state, and that there is a tension between the divine ideal and the current reality. Human spiritual work, in prayer and ethical behavior, helps to unite these aspects of God, bringing the Shekinah out of exile and restoring harmony to creation. Because Kabbalah deals with such powerful symbols and claims that human action affects the higher worlds, traditional Jewish authorities often insisted on strict conditions for its study. Historically, it was generally taught only to married men over 40 who were already well versed in the Bible, Talmud, and Jewish law, and whose character was tested. The concern was that without a grounding in practice and humility, mystical ideas could lead to confusion, arrogance, or even antinomian behavior, people thinking they were above the law. Despite these cautions, Kabbalah had a profound influence on Jewish life and thought. In the 16th century, the city of Safed in the Galilee became a center of Kabbalistic creativity. Figures like Isaac Luria, Moshe Cordovero, and others shaped prayers, rituals, and customs that spread throughout the Jewish world. Many practices that today are considered traditional, such as welcoming the Sabbath with the song Lech Dodi and the imagery of the Sabbath as a bride, have deep Kabbalistic roots. In the 18th century, a movement called Hasidism emerged in Eastern Europe, led by figures like the Baal Shem Tov. Hasidism drew heavily on Kabbalistic ideas, but translated them into a more accessible, emotionally vibrant form of spirituality. Instead of focusing on a small elite of mystics, Hasidism taught that every Jew, through joy, sincerity, and devotion, could connect directly to God. The idea that God is everywhere and that every moment and every action can be infused with holiness is very much in line with Kabbalistic thinking about divine immanence and the presence of sparks in all things. In modern times, Kabbalah has become widely known far beyond the traditional Jewish world. In the 20th century, various teachers and groups began to present Kabbalistic ideas to a broader audience, sometimes in ways that detached them from their original context of Jewish practice and belief. This has led to both a genuine spiritual interest in Kabbalistic concepts and a fair amount of confusion and commercialization. Some presentations focus mainly on personal success, positive thinking, or secret knowledge, which can distort the deeper, more demanding ethical and theological dimensions of authentic Kabbalah. It's important to recognize that, in its classical form, Kabbalah is inseparable from the Jewish commitment to mitzvot, to community, and to a sense of responsibility for the world. The mystical experience is not an escape from ordinary life. It is meant to deepen one's participation in it, with more awareness, compassion, and humility. The goal is not to gain power or status, but to become more aligned with the divine will and to help heal the brokenness within and around us. At a personal level, Kabbalistic teachings invite a person to see themselves as part of a vast spiritual drama. Your thoughts and actions are not insignificant. When you choose kindness over cruelty, honesty over deceit, self-restraint over impulse, you are not only improving your own character, you are, in the Kabbalistic view, lifting divine sparks and contributing to a cosmic healing. Even the struggles and dark moments of life are given a kind of meaning. They are places where the hidden light is most deeply buried and where your choices can make the most profound difference. Kabbalah also challenges us to hold together two truths at once: the transcendence and the immanence of God. On the one hand, God is Ein Sof, beyond all forms, doctrines, and images. No human concept can capture or contain the infinite. On the other hand, that same infinite presence is intimately here, sustaining every breath, every leaf on a tree, every human encounter. To live with this awareness is to walk through the world with a sense of wonder and responsibility, treating every person and every moment as a potential meeting with the divine. Because Kabbalah expresses itself in symbolic language, light, vessels, masculine and feminine energies, trees, worlds, it is not meant to replace rational thought or scientific understanding. Instead, it offers a different lens, a poetic and mythic way of describing realities that are difficult or impossible to capture in straightforward, literal language. For many people, this symbolic language speaks directly to the heart and imagination, awakening a sense of depth in familiar prayers, rituals, and stories. If you are drawn to Kabbalah, traditional teachers emphasize a few guiding principles. First, ground yourself in ethical living. The foundation of any authentic spiritual path is honesty, kindness, humility, and responsibility. Second, study with care and respect. Kabbalistic texts are dense and complex, and they are best approached slowly, ideally with a qualified teacher or reliable guides. Third, remember that the purpose is transformation, not mere fascination. The true test of any mystical teaching is whether it makes you more compassionate, more patient, and more attuned to the suffering and dignity of others. In the end, Kabbalah is an invitation to see the world not as a random collection of events and objects, but as a living, interconnected expression of divine wisdom and love. It invites you to discover that your own soul is a spark of that infinite light, and that your life, with all its challenges and joys, is part of a larger story of concealment and revelation, exile and return, brokenness and repair. By living with awareness, by honoring the sacred in yourself and in others, and by taking responsibility for the impact of your actions, you participate in the ongoing creation and healing of the world. That, in essence, is the vision of Kabbalah. A vision of a universe suffused with meaning, a God who is both beyond all and within all, and a human being whose choices are woven into the very fabric of reality.